Welcome back. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Josiah and today I'm back. I went on a vacation to Holiday World. That was pretty fun. I got a deck of cards while I was there too, so fun. That's fun. But anyway, in this video I'm going to be sharing with you guys not one, not two, but 3 different card switching techniques. Now, I know I've been doing the Summer Stack series. I've kind of decided, it's pretty predictable because every week I'm just going to be uploading, oh boy, you set it up in the size 7 stack, and then you do this, you follow the instructions and it works out, okay? Pretty predictable. So I'll still be doing that, definitely. I don't think I'm going to be uploading episodes as frequently anymore, though, because I want to kind of get back to doing the old stuff, because I've realized I haven't really talked about card switching a whole lot. And essentially the idea is, pretty basic. I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. You just are essentially secretly switching one playing card for another. Now, you might be asking, when is this useful? When in the world would I ever use a card switching technique? There are actually a lot of circumstances. For instance, you can do really clean controls with it. You can switch signed cards for unsigned playing cards. You can do color change sort of things, I guess. Probably the place where I find it the most helpful to know card switches, however, is in the situation where you're using like different gimmicks and things, okay? Or for cleanup, I guess I should say. And the effect of a trick, oftentimes you'll find that when you do card magic, you end dirty, which dirty essentially means that, people can't, there's something that people can't examine, there's something you don't want them to see at the end of a trick. And so the goal at the end of every magic trick is to get it clean, meaning that everything can be examined, there's nothing to hide, but if you end dirty, there's something to hide. And so card switches can be especially helpful for ending clean. Yeah, anyway, essentially, the 3 switches we're going to be learning first the top change, secondly we're going to be learning the glide, and then third we're going to be learning the spread switch. Now there are a lot more card switching techniques. These are the 3 that I find the ones that I use the most, and the ones that are the most helpful to know. So we're going to be going through each of these switches one by one. I'm going to be sharing with you the most basic version of it, the one that pretty much everyone learns, and then I'm going to be sharing with you a whole bunch of fine handling tips and points that will really help you to dial down this switch, or whatever switch we're learning, and really make it your own. So yeah, anyway, let's just get into it. Alright, in this video I'm going to be using the Bicycle Purple Majesty playing cards. These are really cool. I'm not going to say anything about these. I say every deck of cards that I use in my videos is cool, so just know this is what I'm using. So if you want it, link in the description. But anyway, hold up, let me adjust the situation here. Alright, I've adjusted it a little bit. Hopefully this will work a little bit better for the teaching of it. I want to get a little bit more of an overhead view, as close as I can get anyway. But let's learn the top change. So the top change essentially looks like this. I know, super basic, but there are a whole bunch of tips and points that will make this a lot better. So essentially, all the top change is, and here I'll leave one card face up so you can see the top change as it happens. Sorry, messed that one up, but anyway, essentially, the way this one works is you're going to hold one card in your right hand like this, or whatever hand is your dominant hand. I'll put a little window in the corner of the screen for left-handed people, so you can mirror this. But essentially, all you're going to do is you're going to do these actions. You're going to bring this hand over here over, and at the same time you're going to use this thumb to push the top card of the deck over to the side, just like this, okay? So you're coming over with this hand, you're pushing this over at the same time, all you're going to do is you're going to put, once you push this over, you're going to put this card right here underneath the card in your dominant hand, okay? Just like this. And then all you're going to do is you're going to use the thumb, you're going to basically grip the two cards together in this hand like this. And you're going to use your thumb here to push this top card over. So again, you take a card, you're going to come over with this hand as you push with your thumb over, you put it underneath like this, so you're in this position, then use this thumb to slide this card over. You're going to use your thumb, you're going to use the other thumb to grab this card, the top card, pull it back as you take this one away. Now I know that sounded super confusing, but again, I'm just going to follow this action. This is the action in slow motion. Makes sense? You're just pushing one card underneath the other and taking the top card back onto the deck of cards like this, okay? Exposed view looks like this, okay? And at full speed, it looks like this, okay? So, what are the tips and handling points that will make this really much better? Essentially, the way this, first off, a slight tilt of your hand works best, okay? If you do it right here like this, okay, that doesn't work, because for two reasons. First off, it's really exposed to the people around. You have to use a lot of misdirection to keep people from looking here. But secondly, it's actually harder to do the top change and you do it slower. But if you tilt this hand just a little bit, it makes this top change action so much better. If I try and kind of turn here so you can kind of see it. Okay, it makes this top change action so much better if you just give a slight tilt. So it's a tilt to the side, and then a tilt up helps to cover it from the front, okay? That's good, you know, as far as angles go. And then also, you want to kind of do this in an action. You don't just want to be here and go like this, okay? Because obviously, you know, that's pretty obvious what you're doing. So you want to be talking, you want to be looking people in the eye, and you want to kind of be turning. A great place to do this is you kind of gesturing, and then you turn to the side. And as you turn to the side, that's a great time to do the switch, okay? Because that gives you all the time in the world to do the switch. So a lot of people do it when you're here, you point to you're kind of talking to someone over here, and you come over here, you're going to point to someone over here on this side and ask them to do something, okay? And so this is when it's helpful to be performing for groups of people, because you can have these opportunities to, in the action of movements, larger action covers a smaller action, you can do the top change in that scenario, okay? So that's as far as angle and cover goes. As far as the angle and cover part of this goes, I guess. There's not really much more to it. You just kind of have to use misdirection and hide the action of this, okay? And that is the top change. So let's go and learn the glide. Alright, the glide is essentially, looks like this, at least my version of it, or the refined version of it, not my version of it, but it looks like this. Let's say we have the 6 of spades, and we set the 6 of spades down. Let's change the Queen of Diamonds. As you can see, it's a very, very deceptive switch, because the whole action of how you go about doing this completely eliminates, it completely eliminates any need for misdirection, because all of the action happens right here. Okay, very, very cool. But anyway, this is the way it works. So, the basic version, that was my version, that was the the refined version of it. The basic version of it looks like this. Still pretty cool. There's not really much difference noticeable to the naked eye, but there are a whole bunch of handling points that are made so much better by the refined version. But essentially, the way this works, you're going to begin by holding the deck in a biddle grip or overhand grip. Talked about that in a previous video. And then all you're going to do, you're going to turn your hand over like this to show the bottom card, okay? And this is because it's a switch that happens on the bottom of the deck. And then you're going to turn your hand back over, and you're going to come over here with these fingers. And what's happening underneath is you're basically going to make it look like you're using your middle finger and your ring finger to take this bottom card and set it down. That's what you want it to look like. That's not actually what's going to happen, though. What you're actually going to be doing is you're going to be taking the card above it, right above it, okay? And as you can see, it's very deceptive. Of course, this is what's happening. So all you're doing is, sorry, I knocked the tripod accidentally, but all you're doing is once you've turned your hand over, you're going to use these fingers underneath to just push this card. You don't need to push it crazy far because then it's going to flash from the front, but you just want to push it just a little bit over. And your fingers should still cover it. Like, this should be still invisible, like you can see from pretty much any angle, aside from probably the most flash you're gonna get is from this side over here, this angle here. And another helpful tip before we even get into the handling points is if you shift your fingers over to the side just slightly when you do this, okay, that will help to cover it, okay? But essentially, you come here, you push it over a little bit, and then you're going to use your fingers to grab the card underneath it and pull that out, okay? Now when you do this, you only want to pull out one card, okay? And it's about the friction, because you want to use a deck that's broken in, and also you want to play around with the friction with which you push the card, because sometimes you might push like multiple cards, or you might pull off multiple cards, okay? It's about playing around and finding the right amount of friction so that you only push over one card and only take out one card, just to make this as clean as can be. So again, use these fingers to push and pull, and that all happens under the cover of this here. And then when you set the deck from Biddle Grip into this hand here, into Mechanics Grip, naturally you can use these fingers on the side to square up that bottom card, okay? And so it ends completely clean like this, okay? You switched it. Alright, so the refined handling of the Glide, essentially, the first thing we want to fix is this motion, okay? Because there is a slight extra beat in which you can kind of see just a slight motion of this hand kind of going back and forth, because that doesn't happen in the regular Glide, but with the basic version of the Glide, you always had this extra moment where you kind of saw the pushing over before taking out, which isn't really that big of a deal. I mean, it doesn't, we wouldn't ever really notice it that much, but it's just something we want to fix, okay? So that's the first thing we want to fix. The second thing we want to fix about this is helping to eliminate if your cards are kind of clumpy or whatnot, having multiple cards come or multiple cards be pushed and whatnot. So essentially, first thing we're going to do is we're going to hold it in a slightly deeper Biddle Grip. So before we were just holding it in standard Biddle Grip. This time we're going to make it a little bit deeper so that our fingers can kind of hang over the side and can basically come over and clench this bottom card. And essentially what's going to happen is, rather than using these fingers to push it over, we're going to use these fingers to clamp down this bottom card, and we're going to just kind of pull with these fingers. And what should happen is, this card is going to slide to the side and it'll kind of pop off your thumb just a little bit, okay? This action makes so much of a big difference because, first off, with this version of it, you'll never grab more than one card. You'll always grab one card with this version. Secondly, what's really cool about this version of it is that there's no extra action here. So those two things have both been solved just with this simple action. So you come here with this. So now you do this, and of course there's no telltale sign. I mean, if you look at the front, my finger's doing it, there's just a slight twitch, okay? And it's not even that much. Like, you can't even barely notice it, okay? If you do it the right way, like, you can see there's just a slight twitch. That was it, okay? And that's just how deceptive this really is, okay? So now there's no extra actions. So now all you have to do is come down with these fingers and just grab the card beneath it, okay? So much better. I mean, I can't tell you how much that simple action for the refined handling works well so much, okay? But essentially, that's how the refined handling works. You just shift to the side and grab this card, just like that. That's all there is to it. That's the refined handling of it. So, that's the Glide. Let's learn the spread switch. Alright, so, the spread switch. This is a really cool, really cool little switching technique. And what I really love about this technique is just how much it is. I guess I really don't know how to describe this technique. It's kind of a weird switch, because before the two switches we've learned so far, we were switching cards from the top of the deck, and the last one we were switching cards from the bottom of the deck. But now we're going to be switching cards in the middle of the deck, which seems like not so handy, and yes, this is probably the least used of all the switches, but it is really important to know nevertheless. So essentially here's how it works. So you're going to begin by spreading the cards, and you want to do a friction spread. And then you're going to break the cards at one point with your friction spread, and you're going to end here. So this hand is holding these cards like this. And what you're going to do is you want this very last card to be kind of protruding out just a little bit. Not crazily, but you want it to be protruding out a little bit more, because what's going to happen is you're going to use this spread in this hand to turn over this card right here like this, okay? So you're basically just using it to kind of lever this card over, okay? So you're going to do that. You're going to show this card, and then when you turn it over, here's the switch. I know, right? It seems kind of obvious when you do it, but in performance, it just flies so beautifully, okay? And then you just come here, okay? This switch just flies so beautifully, especially if you're just talking, you're like, yeah, blah, 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 here's this card right here. We'll just take this card. Okay, and so, you know, you don't even have to do it that fast. Like a lot of people will do it jerkily, like they'll go, and they'll try and like do it super jerkily. That's not even worth it. Like, you just do it slowly and it works, okay? So all you're doing really is just turning this over, and as you turn this back over, you're going to come up here, you're going to use your thumb to clamp down on the corner of this card right here and grab it. So the card that they actually selected is right here, but they believe it's right here because that's of course the card that you switched, okay? And that's all there is to the spread switch. Most of the time, magicians will use this for a very cool little control, where you basically put it in the middle of this cards, and you put these cards on top, and you square everything up. It's very clean control, but it ends up with their card on top, okay? But that's all I really have to say about the spread switch. As far as the refined handling of it, there's really not much to it. I think there's really not much refinement that can be made. I'd say the most you can do is when you turn it over, try and leave your thumb up to grab this card. There's not really much refinement I can say about this. It's already such a refined move when you originally learn it. I just think there's not much refinement that can really be made to it. But one really good tip is that if you use these fingers here in this hand, you can kind of push this card out a little bit so that you can get this nice action here. Okay, and also you might want to kind of turn again. Again, the turning action is really helpful, okay? But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the spread switch. So, yeah, let's just get into the outro. Alright, and that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when I upload a new video. Hope you enjoyed learning these 3 card switches, and I'll be, in my next videos, I plan to be making not only Summer Stack Series episodes, but I'll also be uploading a few tricks here and there. Maybe, well, probably just my next video will be, after Summer Stack Series, the video after that will be a card trick that teaches a trick that uses these switches. In the meantime, go out, practice these, learn them well, and see you in the next video.